Here we go. The boys are back in town. Let's talk about them. Whoa!
Anvil of War! Let's talk tactics!
So hey guys, welcome back to Anvil of War. So if you are a fan of our content, please join the WA, like, share, and subscribe down below. And I'd like to extend a huge thank you, as always, to our sponsors over at Red Dragon here in Ottawa. Their webpage, you can check it out. It's down below as well. Right on. So here we are talking about the Ork Boyz. Now, we got to start somewhere. Let's go right into their stat line. So your Ork Boy, he is sitting at a 5-inch move. He is going to be weapon skill 3+, ballistic skill 5+, base strength of 4, toughness of 5 now. Ooh. He's sitting at 1 wound with 2 attacks base, leadership 6, and a 6-up armor save. Now, they have a boss knob baked into the squad. He's pretty much the exact same across the board, except he has an extra point of strength, so he's base strength 5. He has an extra wound, sitting at 2 wounds, and he does have an extra attack for 3 attacks, and he bumps the squad's leadership up to 7. Now, you can take these in anywhere between 10 and 30 mobs, or boy mobs, yeah. 30 guys, between 10 and 30, and they all come base with 1 slugga and 1 choppa. Now, the slugga is your standard bolt pistol equivalent. It is a pistol with 12-inch range, strength 4, AP dash, and just damage 1. Now, the choppa, it gives you an extra attack, and it's strength user, 1 damage, but it's AP 1 now. And that actually means quite a bit. I know there's a lot of ignore AP 1, AP 2 out there, but for the ones that aren't, this really helps us kind of punch through, which is something that boys tended to struggle with in the past. So now that's 2 really good things for the boys right there, is the T5 and the -1 to their choppas. It's amazing. And for options now, every boy in the squad can change their choppa slugga over for 1 shooter. Now the shooter is 18-inch range, DACA 3-2, strength 4, AP nothing, and 1 damage. Now, it's a DACA weapon, and for those of you who are new to the Ork book or who haven't seen the previews, stuff like that, the DACA weapon, it's our own type of weapon for orcs. And basically, I don't know if anyone remembers salvo weapons from back in like 7th edition, stuff like that, but it's kind of like them, a cross between salvo and rapid fire. So if you're within half the weapon's range, you use the first profile for its shot count, and if you're over half, you use the second profile. So basically, the closer you are, the more DACA you get. Now that's generally replaced the old DACA rules. So instead of procking extra shots on 6s, now a lot of our weapons just have those extra shots baked in. So that's pretty, it's a parallel move. I haven't played enough games with them yet with DACA weapons to be able to judge how effective they truly are, but they seem pretty good on paper. Boss Knob can replace his slugga and choppa with 2 of the following weapons. So a choppa, a big choppa, a power claw, a kill saw, and a power stabba and a slugga. Now, he can take up to 2 of those, so it means you can double down on your choppas, getting an extra attack for each of them. So now your knob's kicking out 5 attacks, strength 5, -1. And they're free, they're dirt cheap. It's really good. Or you can give them a power claw and a choppa, a big choppa and a choppa, just for that extra little sneaky attack afterwards. The power stabba, it's weird. It's like a dagger that it's just like strength user AP 2, I think. Yeah. And only 1 damage, and it doesn't give you the bonus attack. And I think it's an upgrade for points. So you're usually better off with the choppa or one of the big beefier options. Now, power claws, they have changed. They used to be D3 damage. Now they're still ×2 strength, -3, but now they're flat 2. So more reliable, and they've kind of switched it with the kill saws. Now the kill saws are strength ×2, -4, D3 damage. So they have the potential to spike up, but they also bring in that extra AP, which is also really helpful. So and they're the same points too, I think. So it's entirely up to you. If you want more reliability, go with the power claw. But if you're up against a lot of Marines and stuff like that, maybe the kill saw is probably a better option. Just whatever your experience leads to. Now the knobs can also swap out both of their weapons for a combi shooter or a combi scorcher or a combi rocket launcher. Now These are just the Shuda with the DACA 3-2 profile, and then an underslung Scorcha or rocket launcher. Now, the rocket launches have also changed. They're 24 inches heavy D3, but they get D3 shots. It's no longer one shot. And they are still the strength 8, neg 2, flat 3 damage. And they also gain the blast keyword because they fire the D3 shots. So you do get more shots out of your rocket launches now, even if they are heavy. And the boys can also take one of those as well in the squad. One of them can be, 1 in every 10 can be upgraded to have a rocket launcher or a big Shuda. Now, we've touched on the rocket launcher. The big Shuda is a measly upgrade, but it puts out more shots. Like the big Shuda, again, is a DACA weapon, so it's 36 inches. It's DACA 5-3, so at 18 inches, you're getting 5 shots out of it. Strength 5, AP dash, 1 damage. But it's really good for laying down the hurt at range if you're camping an objective with your boys or you're throwing them in the back of a truck and they aren't getting really stuck in. So that's really it for their weapon options. Now moving on to their special rules. So they have, for special rules, they have WA, they have Here We Go, and they have Mob Rule. Now, we lost the ability to take, if you take a certain amount in a squad, you get the extra attack. Like in 8th edition, if you took 20 or more, each model got an extra attack on its profile, which was really good, and it really encouraged those big man mobs. Now, we lost that, so you're seeing a little bit of a decrease in incentive to take larger squads, and that continues with the mob rule. Now, mob rule used to be good, now it's not. So basically, mob rule is if you're within 6 inches of you have a mob keyword, which these guys do, and most of your other big squads have the mob keyword as well. If you're within 6 inches of another mob unit that is over half strength, your mob is treated as being over half strength. Now, this is for like combat attrition purposes, so instead of fleeing on 1s and 2s, you still only flee on 1s, but compared to being like, my 5-man orc squad is now leadership 30 because it's next to a 30-man strong squad, I mean, that's, yeah, it's a lot worse. And again, it's discouraging the big bricks of boys. Here We Go has changed as well. Before you could roll any or re-roll any or all charge dice. Now it's just re-roll charges, so you have to re-roll the whole thing. You can't just cherry pick that 6, which is not as reliable, but it's still better than nothing, right? We're still more of a combat army, and we're more reliable to make our charges. And then WA has also changed. Now, they're affected by the WA, and the WA, as you guys might have seen on the Warhammer community page, or you've seen in your own books, or you've just heard through the grapevine, we actually have to call the WA again, and that's a beautiful thing. I love yelling at my opponents, so just intimidating them and stuff like that, right? So yeah, at the start of your command phase, if you have a war boss on the field and he has to be your warlord, super fluffy, super real, love it, he can call the WA, and for that entire turn until your next command phase, the first stage of the WA is in effect. So for these boys, that means that they re-roll charges, or they can advance and charge, and they get an extra attack on the charge, or an extra attack on their profile. So you can advance and charge with your boys, you can get an extra attack out of them. So that's almost where that extra attack went from the being the big 20-man mobs. Now it's just baked into the WA, which is good. And then the WA is also, it has a part 2. So after your second command phase, after it being called, part 2 kicks in. And part 2, you don't get the advance and charge anymore, but you still get that extra attack. So you have essentially 4 fight phases worth of extra attacks coming out of your boy squads, whoever else has the WA keyword. It's really good. And I like to maximize that across as much of the board as possible. My preferred way to run Ork Boys squads is 10 men or 10 boys squads with a knob, with a power claw, no special weapons, no ranged weapons, just get up there, punch them in the mouth. That's what boys do best. I run mine as Goths. We'll touch on the clans in a minute, but that's the way I like mine. It lets me put them across the entire board, put them in trucks, put them wherever, and I don't have to worry about maneuvering this single giant mob of boys around. I can just like, okay, 10 boys go over there, 10 boys go over there. They both get the +1 attack. They don't have to worry about being in the aura of a war boss anymore. It's just table wide, call the WA, get up there, smash some gits. That's right and proper. It's a lot of fun. I recommend you try it. So that's really the data sheet. I mean, keywords, they have the core keywords. They are affected by auras. They have the mob keyword like I touched on, clan keyword, you get your clan bonus, stuff like that. So speaking of clans, we'll move on to what clans I think benefit boys the most. Now, mine are Goths. I will probably only ever run boys squads as Goths. They're just, it's too good for them, in my opinion. They get the exploding hits on 6s to hit. They get the +1 strength on the charge built in. Before you had to pay a command point to make them Scar Boys. Now it's just your army-wide Goths. +1 strength on the charge. Now they're strength 5 with -1 AP from their choppers. All those attacks from the wall. Exploding attacks on 6s. You throw out a lot of dice and it gets really demoralizing for your opponent. They just drown in saves and they can't make them all. Now, and then another one is snake bites. Now, I mean, I'm not sold on snake bites yet. I like their transhuman built in, or their 4-up. They can only be wounded on a 4-up is built into them. But with the toughness boost that we got, it really only affects like strength 7 and 6 weaponry. So if those become more prevalent, then that will be beneficial, because snake bites, as you know, they have the transhuman, you can only be wounded on a 4+, but that's only if the strength of the attack is 8 or less than 8. So we're already being wounded on 5s anyways. 4s are, when with strength 5, they're only wounding us on 4s anyways. I guess that could be useful if they have pluses to wound, where that could come into effect. But yeah, because your boys, they still only have a t-shirt save, right? And with custom force fields not being what they were, they are still useful, but they're no longer like the auto include that you're going to see in every list. You might not bring a custom force field, so maybe you want those Marines have a +1 to wound with their bolters and stuff like that. Well, now that goes by the wayside. You still only get wounded on a 4, 5, or 6, even if they have the +1 to wound, things like that. It keeps you alive, keeps that t-shirt save from being punched through just that little bit more. So it definitely is helpful for sure. And other than that, really, I mean, I don't see boys as a shooty part of the army. I see them as more of a table presence, objective holders, or just a wave of them, a whole bunch of them in a Goths list. So like Death Skulls, they get the shrug to mortal wounds. That's pretty good. Evil Sons, they don't get the bonuses to charge anymore, so it'll let you cover the board faster without having to rely on like weird boy powers and stuff. Bad Moons, my take is Goths. If I've missed a killer combo somewhere with another clan, please feel free to let me know, but I think Goths are the way to go for just basic Ork boys, right? Now, stratagem support for them. There are a few stratagems that I think are really good for the Ork Boys unit themselves, and going back to their keywords, they have the Tank Bust a Bomb keyword. Now, Tank Bust a Bombs have changed for us. They're no longer war gear. It's a stratagem. Now, you pay your 1 command point, and if you have the Tank Bust a Bombs keyword, you make a single attack in melee. But if that attack hits, 2d3 mortal wounds. So you basically just clamp a shape charge onto the side of a dreadnought, like the opening of Dawn of War, and it explodes, and it's great. So the Tank Buster Bombs keyword, if you got your boys in combat with something and you just want to get those mortal wounds through because it's tough, throw a Tank Buster Bomb on them, right? Now, for other stratagems, there is Get Stuck In Lads, and this also is why I like to run them in squads of 10, because if it's 10 or less models in the squad, it only costs 1 CP. If they're more than 10, it costs 2 command points, so you're kind of saving some CP there. Now, what Get Stuck In Lads does, it allows you to, for 1 command point in my smaller squad loadout, it allows you to pile in and consolidate an extra 3 inches. So it allows you to get all those boys not engaged because you're not having to worry about these giant ranks of this massive mob, but it allows you to wrap things and like trap them. So you can use those boys to completely encircle a 5-man squad holding an objective, and now if you don't kill them, sure, you don't kill them, but now if they want to fall back, they have to pay the 2 command points for that desperate breakout stratagem, but other than that, you've got them, they're trapped. I think it's a great way to be able to pin your opponent in place with that stratagem. And then there is Tide of Muscle, and that's the last one that I think really complements Ork Boys and most Ork units, but it allows a core Ork unit to ignore any or all modifiers to its charge distance. So we get reroll charges, but now you're on the other side of a crater and you want to charge that juicy thing, or that juicy target, and you're incurring a -2. Even with the reroll, that's not the greatest, right? So, but this allows you to ignore it. One command point, boom. I don't care about the crater. I'm getting into melee. You got that tie to muscle. They just surge through repulsor fields, impulsor fields, given the -2 to charge ranges for the Space Marine vehicles. Nope, we don't care. We're getting in. We're clamping a tank buster bomb onto you, and we're trapping you and using get stuck in, wrapping your vehicle dies, all the guys inside die. you see what I'm doing here. Character synergies. So the Weird Boy is always a good take. So he has 2 powers I like with the boys. One is Warpath. So friendly clan core or friendly clan character unit, you cast this power, gives them +1 attack to that unit. So it gives all your boys an extra attack, which stacks with the WA, so you're throwing out even more dice. And it makes your 10-man squad suddenly a lot more scary than just like, oh, it's only 10 orcs, what are they going to do? Well, here's 51 attacks. Please remove your models. And to jump. Now, to jump it's to jump. It hasn't changed. You can move a core unit. You can move a core unit, take them, redeploy them with outside of 9 inches, the normal stuff, but it allows you to like get those early objectives turn 1. It allows you to get an early charge to pin them in their deployment zone, maybe turn 1. It's really useful. I always take to jump just for the mental aspect of the game, the psychological aspect of the game. Your opponent's always second guessing. It's like, oh, do I spread out my deployment? Do I want them to jump those boys over there? That kind of thing. And that's the only thing I can actually see 30-man boy squads being good for, maybe, is like a turn 1 to jump, pin them in their deployment zone. Here's 30 bodies. Wah, the rest of my squads are going to cap objectives, and I'm going to win the game. So, in addition to the Weird Boy, we have the War Boss. Now, he has the War Boss rule, or aura. So, 6-inch aura, core units within his aura get +1 to hit. Now, that's your War Boss. That's your War Boss Omega Armor. That's your War Boss on... It's just not your Beast Boss, just every War Boss, right? So they give +1 to hit in a 6-inch aura to your core units. And if you like me, you're going the Goth route, well, bring Gaz. Because Gaz, he has his aura where it's 6 inches of reroll all hits for Goth infantry in melee. So you're not adding the +1 unless you have another War Boss nearby, but you're hitting on your 3s, you reroll all of those. It's really helpful for your knobs with their Power Claws or Kill Saws because they're an innate -1. So it lets you get even more hits through, and it gives you a better chance to proc those 6s to have those explode. And going back, another reason for Goths is their stratagem. I completely forgot about their stratagem, guys. I'm sorry. It's the Unbridled Carnage. So it lets you proc No Mucking About, which is their 6s exploding hits in melee. It lets you proc that on 5s. So you get like that many more attacks out of it. It's just, crazy amounts of dice coming out. If you really want that unit gone and your boys are the only thing that's stuck in, you can use it elsewhere, but it's good on most of your Goth units, to be honest, because they can shell out that many attacks. And that's really it for character synergies. Specialist mobs, there's a few that affect the boys. I wouldn't take most of them unless maybe Truck Boys. This is pending FAQs, obviously, because Truck Boys needs to be fixed. As we know, they can't board their own truck. Rules is written, but that's definitely not the intention. So you could use them as Truck Boys, but there are better candidates, in my opinion. Knobs, Mega Knobs, even like a Suicide War Boss. Like the Eldar players, like their Solitaire, send them up like a missile. We'll throw a War Boss in a truck, make them a Truck Boy, send them up like a missile, that kind of thing. But we're talking about boys. So they can benefit from it, but they aren't the best candidate, in my opinion. So yeah, that's really it, guys. And like they're boys. They do what they say on the tin. They do it pretty darn well. I love them. They're still in my list, just not the capacity they used to be. It's no longer the 3 times 30-man mob. It's a whole bunch of little smaller mobs. Maybe that one 30-man mob with the jump, but that remains to be seen. I'll have to play test that and get back to you. So if there's anything that you think I missed with boys, if there's any clans that really stand out to you I didn't touch on, any other stratagems, character support, stuff like that I missed, feel free to comment down below. Start a discussion, guys. I like to learn. I mean, the book's still relatively new. I only have, I think, 4 or 5 games in with it right now, so there's obviously more synergies that are going to come out of the woodwork as time goes on. So yeah, as always, thanks, guys.
Sponsored by...
All you gits, crump that subscribe button for more Orky content.
Let's talk tactics on Ork Boyz.
Boys.
3, 2.
Here we go. The boys are back in town. Let's talk about them.
If you could do that without laughing after.